My name is Talisha Leonce. Talisha is my birth name, and May and Leonce is the names I was gifted when I was adopted in 2004. I was only 2 years old when I was adopted by my mum and dad, Debbie and Alec. I am also a twin, non-identical. My twin and I were lucky enough to stay together whilst we were adopted. Although some siblings do get split up, it is very rare. I won't speak too much about my twin Tafina, as her thoughts and feelings towards her adoption is her own experience. I'm nothing special, by the way. I'm just your average 20-year-old girl living a normal life. Nothing overly interesting. I'm just finishing my 4th year at UHI, completing my honours degree, with the best girls by my side. I couldn't imagine life without them. I live with my partner Michael, and we've been together nearly 3 years. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Some general facts about me. I am a bit of a diva, and I do love my Starbucks, but I love my friends and family even more. I am blind to colour, by the way. You'll either see me in black, beige or white. I don't really want much in life, just to be happy, healthy and enjoy it with those that I love. I take pride in how I look because it brings me happiness if I put on a bit of makeup and an outfit. I mean, who wouldn't be confident trying to be Kim K? I don't really care what others think of me, but let's go back to my school years because that's a whole different ballgame. Back when I was at school, image was everything. As much as I tried to fit in, I really didn't. And this wasn't really to do with my adoption, but it did have a strain on my mental health. I felt like I had to have a skinny waist, a perky bum, perky boobs, and I mean, who at 12 years old actually has boobs? Mine didn't come until I was about 15. I tried to fit in by making my brows look like they were about to fly away, have dresses as short as my knickers. I didn't do it for the attention, I just wanted to fit in. School was an awful time for me. I didn't have heaps of friends, and even the friends that I did have, well, it wasn't really a friendship group. We used to take endless selfies with each other and then slag each other off behind each other's backs. It was a very toxic environment and I started to get really bad mental health problems in school. My parents were always there for me, but I never wanted to stress them out. Near the end of my school year, I thought about ending my life because I felt like I had no purpose, suffering in silence and screaming because no one could hear me. I'm a lot different now. Yeah, I have bad days, but who doesn't? I've grown as a person and I've learned to put myself first. And that image isn't everything. Yeah, I like to make myself look good and feel good, but I do it for me, not to try and fit in. Another thing I do is go off track to what I'm trying to say. I don't want you to sit here and feel sorry for me. Yeah, I didn't have the best start in my life before my adoption, and I might not have had the best time in school. But I actually think so far my life is pretty inspirational and shows that it does have ups and downs, but you should always carry on. It's not until you break my walls down I become more interesting. And one big topic that a lot of people like to learn about is my adoption. I guess it's because not many people are adopted out there, so it seems so fascinating to others. I don't remember too much about my adoption. After all, I was only 2, and I was part of the 80,000 children waiting in care back in 2004 to be adopted. At the age of 2, I'm sure nobody can really remember what was going on, but it's true. Babies' brains start to work and develop the most at this age. You're developing and understanding how things process around you. Most of this comes from mimicking your parents and doing what they do and say. Babies do far more than cry and poop all day. They start to recognise faces and build relationships with the 2 most important people in their life, your parents. Sad truth is, I never had a forever mum and dad until I was 2. Even before I was put into care, I wouldn't really say my birth parents were parents. You see, it's not the blood relation that dictates who your parents are. It's who loved, cared, and raised you that are your parents. I never remember a day where my parents said, "We adopted you." It was always just a known fact in our family, and we learned more and more about it as we got older. My mum always told my sister and I that we grew in her heart and not her belly. Kids get curious and ask all sorts of questions. Now I'm sure all of you sat here today have been asked a question by a kid and you don't quite know how to answer it. But I love how open and honest my parents have been with us and told us in baby steps about our adoption. Unfortunately, there's no manual in adoption. Yeah, you have the basics and the steps to adopt a child, but you never know how they're going to react. But I love how my parents told us, because I'll never remember a day specifically where they told us. Equally, I love them the exact same, whether we're biological or not. I'm glad my parents told me early on, like I said, so we don't have that memory to look back on. The bond we have is strong and unbreakable. It's full of love, trust, laughter, and 1,000 and more memories. After the adoption of adopting a child, the process doesn't stop there. Because my twin sister and I were 2 years old, we had adapted to so many new different surroundings before my mum and dad adopted us. I took a completely different approach to my twin sister. I was a lot more clingy as a child, and I would rarely let my parents out my sight. I didn't like having the door shut or even letting them go to the toilet sometimes. As a baby, I know from reading my files that in the past, before we were adopted, we were strongly neglected, and the doors stayed mostly shut, and we would spend days in our high chairs. This is when a baby should be playing with interactive mats, cuddles from their parents, outside strolls in their prams, but most importantly, feeling loved and wanted. I never found it hard to form a strong relationship with my parents. Some children do find it hard to trust others, but I just wanted them by my side all the time. Like I said, I never struggled to have a relationship with my parents, but I did struggle to trust other people further down the line. It's not that people made me not trust them, and I have no way of knowing if this was my adoption, but I do find trust a difficult thing. One of the greatest gifts in my life is being able to say I'm part of the Leonce family. All of my family members have done something amazing, and I could sit and speak about them all individually, but we'd be here forever. I'll speak about both my parents in detail a little bit later on, but my mum is truly amazing. After she adopted my sister and I, she was still in the RAF and she was still fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. She did all this whilst juggling still becoming a mum. I look at my boyfriend for motivation because he motivates me in everything I do and always pushes me to be the best I can. There's never a dull moment between us and we're always laughing, but I know that he'll support me and help me with any problem I have and never make me feel like what I'm doing is silly or stupid. My mum and dad really are my best friends and my biggest supporters and cheerleaders. I couldn't imagine my life without them. Let's not forget my dad, by the way. He was in the Winter Olympics in 1990, Alec Leonce. He did the bobsleigh and was the first British black man to take part in the Winter Olympics. Although we have photos in our house of this, he really does play it down, and I don't know why, because it's such an amazing achievement, and I'm forever proud to say that that is my dad. This is why I'm so proud to be in this family. But what makes me so special? I haven't done anything amazing, and what makes me stand out from everyone? Wrong. I don't have to prove anything to show that I belong in this family. I was adopted by my parents because of me. They raised me to be strong, independent, and live the life that I want to. When I was in primary school, one core memory I have about my adoption was I wasn't allowed to have my name featured in the newsletters or online. We used to use our middle names, May and Amber. Mine is May and my sister's is Amber. This was because we had to keep things private so our birth parents didn't know where we stayed and what school we went to. My sister and I did a lot of sports when we were younger, and sometimes we would be in the papers for winning races. As a young girl, I knew why this was the case, but I didn't understand fully why we weren't allowed to use our names. I used to play a game with myself, just to distract myself from the realism of it. I was a princess, and my birth parents were the bad guys trying to find me. Of course, this was when I was in primary school, but I would tell myself I was on a mission to hide from the bad guys and to never get caught. I guess I did this to add a bit of fun to it since I didn't really understand the seriousness of it at the time. Since my mum and dad treated my sister and I like princesses anyways, I always won the game, of course. I've never had any contact from my birth parents. That was until my 18th birthday. My birth mum messaged me on Facebook and told me how much she'd been thinking of my sister and I and how much she missed us. So what does she expect me to write back? I missed her too and that I want her back in my life? For me, it was like a complete stranger was messaging me, claiming to be my mum, but she's anything but. I'll never have any interest in trying to form a relationship with them. I'm happy and content with the family I have, because that's the only family that exists for me. I'm sure not many people sat here today can tell me something about them when they were 2 years old that they remember without a photo or someone else saying something that had happened. There is this one memory that my parents tell me from the first time my sister and I seen them. Now, I don't really remember this, but it does warm my heart every time I hear about it. From the moment my sister and I saw my parents walking up to our foster home, and we looked through the window, standing on the sofa, shouting "Mummy" and "Daddy," jumping up and down on the sofa with excitement. I don't believe in love at first sight in a romantic way, but that day I seen my mum and dad walk towards me. That was my love at first sight. I know I was only 2 years old at the time, and I may not remember it, but they'll always be my first love. the people that made me who I am today, a strong, independent, loving and caring woman, with a bright future, with goals and dreams I will reach because of them. I've always said how lucky I am to have parents like mine, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people sat here today, but I really couldn't think of a better family to be in than the Leonces. My dad is my best friend. He can't stay mad at me for longer than a day. That's because I'm his favourite. Don't tell my sisters or my brother though. He supports me on everything I do and all the decisions I make. He'll help me reach my goals no matter how hard it is to get there. The patience he has is unmatched. You can imagine the drama in our household growing up with 2 teenage girls and all their hormones. The life of a party, you could say, although his dancing isn't as good as it used to be. He is 60 after all, believe it or not. He has guided me through life and been there for me even though I have done wrong. He never gives up on me and what I am doing, but instead supports me and trusts the process. He will show up to help me whenever I need it, and he'll be there for a shoulder to cry on. The crying usually happens when he's trying to teach me my maths. Sometimes I feel like the world is against me, but after seeing my dad, my problems don't matter anymore. I feel safe. I post my dad a lot on social media because he's always doing something funny. If he can brighten up my day, maybe a quick 30-second video on my Instagram of him flipping pancakes and dropping them will give somebody a laugh who needs one. I love when my friends say my dad is funny, loving, caring, because he is. Both my parents must be famous or something, because I swear everybody wants to meet them. I don't blame them, to be honest, because they can make you feel so loved and wanted within seconds. They would do anything to make sure my friends are okay and take anyone in as their own. I'm glad I've got a close enough relationship with my dad where I know I can go to him for anything. My mum, Debbie, is also my best friend. She's the prettiest mum I've ever seen. Her fashion isn't bad either. Truth be told, we have matched by accident and we look at the same clothes in some stores sometimes. Like mother, like daughter. I don't know if it's a bad thing matching your mum when you're 20 and she's 50, but at least we both look like we're ready to walk the catwalk. I have a really close relationship with my mum, probably share more than most people would with theirs, but I like it like that, and I like how honest she is. She'll let me know if my makeup's too orange or if my dress is too short. Trust me, this has caused arguments. But I can always go to my mum for advice and feel no pressure into doing what she thinks is right. Same as my dad, she supports me in everything I do. I don't know if it's the same for every mother and daughter with a close relationship, but one thing I can't wait for is to make my mum a nana. As much as she wants me to enjoy my young, youthful life, it's moments like these I can't wait to share with my mum. I wouldn't want anybody else by my side. Besides, if I can be half the mum she has been to me, then I know I've succeeded. Everyone needs a mum like Debbie, and it breaks my heart that not everybody gets to experience this. To be honest, I'm only 20 and I should be going out clubbing and drinking, but I would take a call the midwife date night with my mum over all of that. It's the doing nothing and hiding the chocolates that we sneaked behind my dad's back that I love. I try to see my parents at least once a week. Now I know that sounds sad when I'm 20 years old and I've moved out, but honestly, if I don't see them at least once a week, it can bring my mood down. Even if it's just an hour catch up with a coffee. And besides, sometimes I get a free meal out of this, so yes please. Just don't ask my mum to cook the Yorkshire puddings, she's still working on them. My mum truly is the best mum in the world, and I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it's true. I know I said earlier I don't want to speak too much about my twin sister Tafina because her experience with adoption is different to mine. However, my sister also plays a key role into the person I am today. Most people that know my sister and I will know that we've never been that close. It's the same for most sibling relationships, but over the past few years, our friendship and relationship has grown a lot closer. I know that we're twins, so we're the same age, but I do view her as my little sister, and I feel like I have to protect her and look after her and look out for her, but maybe that's because I'm a little bit more responsible than her. Growing up as kids, she was always a lot more confident. I know you've seen me dance loads in this video, but I was always the shy kid, but she wouldn't hold back to meet new people. I love how close we've become recently because I know I can go to her for anything, and she can come to me too. We both don't live at home anymore. She lives in a different town to where I live, so I don't know if this has brought us closer, but I try to message her at least 3 times a week and have at least 2 FaceTimes, just for a general chit-chat. It never used to be like this, and sometimes we would go weeks without speaking to each other, and I look back on that thinking it was normal, but it was actually quite upsetting. I never tell Tafina how proud I am of her. We all face things through our life, but she has definitely dealt with a lot more than most people I know. If you said to me less than 10 years ago, is having a twin like having a best friend? I would have laughed at you and said no. All we do is argue, fight, and we don't get along at all. But now looking at our relationship, she really is my best friend. You could say it's a built-in best friend. You don't really have much of a choice when it comes to sharing birthdays either. That's the only downside about being a twin. Tafina is the one person that has been by my side from the very beginning. One joke that she likes to tell is we were womb mates. I know, it's a pretty awful joke, but let her have that one. But I really couldn't think of anybody else I'd rather have by my side, and I love her so much. Being adopted in 2004 was the greatest gift my parents have ever given me, and I'm forever grateful for them. Don't get me wrong, you've seen us dancing, singing, going on holidays, and always having a good time. But we're just like your average family. We have had plenty of ups and plenty of downs. But at the end of the day, I belong in this Leonce family, whether I'm blood related or not. My parents raised me and made me who I am today. I hope in the future I can give back and adopt a child myself. I've always wanted to do this with my partner Michael, so I can give a child a second chance in life like my parents did with me.